Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Matthew John Jacobson, and I'm a cancer survivor. And I'm gonna, talk about my life, how I am doing today, how I got to this point, um, what things are like on a daily basis, and we'll go from there. Today, I woke up really depressed, just about society, the way society is, and I was crying in my cornflakes, right? Just it's a tough go. It's really tough for people that have diseases or fighting diseases, which I was born sick, so not only have I survived cancer, which was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I also was born sick, so I've dealt with that my entire life, and I've dealt with it pretty well. I've fought through it, and I had parents that raised me tough, knowing my problems. I spent a lot of time in the hospital as a kid, and still somehow I was able to overcome a lot of it and become a good athlete. Go to school, do normal things that everyday kids did, and I was able to fit in and kind of hide the things that were wrong with me, like a lot of people do. Most people do. We tend to hide what we feel are our own shortcomings, and just fit into society the best way that we can. And the way we look at that is kind of the way that we shape the way that we act as people in order to try to fit in, based upon what we see and hear from other people that we perceive as fitting in. So, anyways, today, tough time. Financially, it's been extremely tough on me and my entire family, my kids and all that, of course. It's hard to know what exactly happens to your family until something like that actually happens to you, where you fall sick and can't work anymore and stuff like that. But anyways, like I said, it's been over 5 years now that I've been going through the whole thing. I think it's around 4 years of being a cancer survivor. So after got all the disease out, which it took a while. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is basically cancer in your blood, in your lymph nodes, which the toxins, they get stuck in your lymph nodes. They're not the toxins aren't getting out of your lymphatic system, which is meant to get the toxins out of your lymphatic system. By way, your lymphs work with your kidneys and your liver. So anyways, that wasn't working very well, and I was having all kinds of symptoms: road rash all over my body, shortness of breath, just doing very normal everyday things like taking showers, walking down a hallway, brushing my teeth. I just would, just even sleeping, I was waking up and I couldn't breathe, gasping for air to the point where I was passing out. But I was also having these choking fits where I was having something, felt like it was going down the wrong pipe when I was sleeping, and it was like this, had a taste to it, and it got me coughing because I was trying to get air into my lungs, and it was awful, and I'd end up passing out. I was passing out at work, getting fired from jobs because I was passing out. I was having to miss a lot of work from going to doctor's appointments, and all the misdiagnoses, 7 times being misdiagnosed. Baseball-sized tumor coming out of my neck. When I finally got diagnosed, I went to an emergency room, middle of the night, felt like I was dying, had the baseball-sized tumor coming out of my neck. That's the doctor that said, hey, we should biopsy that. Before then, I had doctors giving me antibiotics and things like that, saying it was some sort of infection, and they were giving me stomach antibiotics for the big tumor I had in my neck. So anyways, got it biopsied. I had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. There's so many terms to it. At that time, there were 64 types of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And my oncologist said I had one of the rarest, most aggressive forms. The chemotherapy that I was being given, it was working for a little bit. The tumors would go down, and then I would get close to the last round of chemo before I was supposed to be in remission or whatever, and it would grow back. I would end up in the hospital with horrible stomach pains, and they would do a CT scan and see that the lymphoma grew back. And I originally had the tumors all around my heart, around my spleen, which was causing most of my stomach pain. Up in this area, my neck was littered with tumors, my pelvis area, down to my testicles. It was awful, and I actually felt like I was dying. So I went through that. I learned that what they said causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which we all need to be very aware of because it's in all of our food, water, medicine. It's in the medicine. The company that makes the chemical that's doing this to us is the same company that made the gas Zyklon B in the Holocaust that killed all the Jews. They made Agent Orange that killed our vets in the Vietnam War. This company, the workers at this company in several different plants have died at several different locations or ended up with the cancers themselves from the plants catching on fire and then the chemicals causing the deaths, through cancer or whatever happened to them. This was in West Virginia, Virginia, and some other places. There was a train wreck in East Palestine, Ohio, and the gas that was around that community that they said was very toxic has only been traced to this same company. And this company makes a herbicide, pesticide that's put on all of our food supply. The chemical causes several different cancers. They've been sued. The company is outlawed. The product is outlawed in 129 other countries, but not in the United States because our entire Congress has taken donations every year since at least Jimmy Carter, when I was looking back. Every congressperson in Congress takes donations from this company. They're lobbyists. And then the bills protect this company from ever being prosecuted in this country. That corporation can't be prosecuted for the crimes against humanity that they are doing. So this company that's causing cancer, they bought Pfizer in 1985 Pfizer was called a different company during that time. Now you have to realize that this company, they've bought in other companies, that other herbicide, pesticide companies merged. They changed their name throughout history several times, but they're still there as the same name company, and they just go dormant every time they get sued and change their name. But yeah, this is what's causing all the cancer in this country, is there's poisons being added to the food supply, everything that we consume. The water, the natural waterways are poisoned with all of this stuff, from runoff and everything like that. Everything can be restored. Other countries have restored all of this already. They've gotten the poisons out of the medicine, the food, the water. As far as getting it out of the soil for farming, they use a half and half hydrogen peroxide to water solution on a grand scale, obviously. But that restores the soil, gets the minerals back. The minerals come back naturally, the ones that are all missing now. So how did I make it through? Well, for one, God has helped me survive this so that I can pass this message on. I had a stem cell transplant in 2018 after the chemotherapy, different drugs kept on failing. I ended up down at the Rochester Mayo Clinic, where I underwent 18 rounds of chemotherapy in 6 days. Killed every single cell in my body. That's what it was meant to do. Before that time, before I actually got the stem cell transplant and that chemotherapy at the Mayo Clinic, I was receiving a newer chemotherapy that I could have been on for the rest of my life, and that was the plan if the stem cell transplant didn't work. This chemotherapy brought the disease down to where it was barely detectable. And they were going to do this so that they could harvest my own baby stem cells that were not infected. So they harvested these stem cells using a coagulator, sticking a metal rod in my left arm. I had regular IV and tubes in my right arm, and hooked up to a machine that was taking my stem cells out, and then another machine was separating my baby stem cells from my infected stem cells. So after the stem cell transplant, after they killed every cell in my body with the 18 rounds of chemotherapy in 6 days, they gave me the baby stem cells to bring me back to life. And it was in this time, the last day of the chemotherapy, I woke up, it's about 3:30 in the morning, and I felt like I was dying or dead. And I just didn't feel the same, like I didn't feel my body at all. I walked to the bathroom and realized that I didn't bring the machines with me. I had machines all hooked up to me through my IV and everything. I had, not hooked up to me at the time, but I had a port from my first oncology department who was doing chemotherapy, and then HIC lines above that the Mayo Clinic was using to give me chemotherapy and all the stuff that they were giving me through those tubes that came out of there, that went right into my jugular vein, or your main artery. The port also went through my jugular vein and into my heart. And this is where they just put the chemotherapy, they hook everything up to those ports. and then they can give you whatever they got to give you right through there. So I noticed that I don't even have any of this stuff. I don't see the tubes coming out of my body or anything, and I see blood all over my chest. This is the last night of the 18 rounds of chemotherapy, where every cell in my body was dead. And I walk to the bathroom and I'm looking in the mirror and I just see blood all over me, and I take this towel and I'm wiping blood off all over me. I walk back to my bed and I feel like I was dying. I looked over at the nurse button. I was thinking to myself, boy, I should really call and tell somebody this is going on and I'm feeling really weird right now. And, you know, during this whole time, this whole stem cell transplant and everything, this is like a 2-month period of time. And this was the week where I was getting these chemotherapy, their 18 rounds or whatever. I was in the hospital at that time for a week, during a week's period of time, but I was down at the Mayo Clinic for a 2-month period of time where I had to live in this special place for people going through these stem cell transplants. They had special ventilation systems because you could die at any time from infection because you have no white blood cells to take care of any of that stuff. So at this point, though, I'm not in the apartment going back and forth to the hospital every day. I'm actually inpatient at the hospital undergoing this procedure. So I did not hit the nurse button. I just thought I was going to die. And then I noticed that I was actually looking at my body underneath where my vision was. And I'm there and I'm like, I knew that I died and I was outside of my body. I don't know what I had, what I was at the time. I couldn't see myself. And I started to get real scared, and I started to think to myself about my kids and all of this stuff. And then during that time, this energy came into the room that was visible. Different colors that I had never seen before. And I knew this was God, and this is where this story is going to get a little crazy. Some people are going to be like, what the heck's this guy talking about and all this stuff. Yeah, I saw God. I had a near-death experience, and I met God. Which is crazy because my name is Matthew John Jacobson, and gematria, that means chosen messenger of God. And before this gets cut off or anything like that, because I'm just rambling, I don't know how this is going to go. God's message to the world is unconditional love. And He loves everybody unconditionally. It's with us all the time. And we'll get back to that. So I have this energy in front of me, which I know is God. In that moment, like a projectile throw up or a movie projector screen in front of me, I saw myself, my body, myself, talking to everybody I've ever talked to in my life that I had a bad experience with and left them feeling not good. And by watching this, with God watching with me, seeing all the things that I was ashamed of, I was stuck in that regret, shame, remorse. And I was unable to go back and fix anything. I was stuck. Couldn't move, just stuck being judged by God. I couldn't look at Him anymore. I couldn't look at the energy anymore. Because at this time I knew it was God. I thought I was going to hell for being mean to these people while I was here. I started praying to Jesus, and I didn't want to go now. I wanted to come back and protect my kids and teach them that we need to be good to other people here while we're here. It's all a test. And it determines if we go to hell or heaven in the afterlife. Hell being stuck in your consciousness, because that's what we are when we die. We never die. Our body dies, but our consciousness never dies. We are our consciousness. So it matters if we're good or if we're bad. If we're bad, after we're judged, we're going to sit in a state of remorse, regret, shame, without the ability to ever go back and change it. For as long as God wants that to be. Heaven is what Jesus teaches us to do here. Everything that Jesus teaches you to do here is to clear your consciousness before you die, and that's what you need to understand. Being good to one another, treating each other good, not hurting one another, lifting each other up when we're down. And God's watching all of that. And He also watches not only when we're bad, but when we are good. And it was in this time when I was so fearful and frightened of where I was going to end up, is when I got this overwhelming feeling. I can't even explain it to you guys. All of my hair was standing on end type of feeling. And in that time, when I started feeling this, God gave me the message in my mind of unconditional love. And that's what I was supposed to bring back to everybody. He told me this wasn't my time. I'm not going to go back. I could come back to my kids and watch them grow up and teach them about God. In that time, I was back into my body. And I could feel a hand on my head, on my forehead, and out over my heart. And I watched the energy come from what I knew was God in that moment. The colors of that energy went from God into my chest. And that's when I felt life back into my body and got the feelings of all my hair standing on end. The most amazing, beautiful feeling that I've ever felt in my life. Like I was alive for the first time. Never has anybody ever felt that way unless they've gone through the same thing that I went through. And I know it's all real. And it's my job to come back and tell you guys all this. God is real and He loves every single one of you. These bodies are just vessels. And what we do in them, it matters. That's why we're here. That is why we're here. It's up to us to have that same unconditional love that God had for me, a man who's done so many wrongs in his life. But I've prayed my whole life, and I've told God that I loved Him my entire life, and that I wanted to get better, prayed to be a better man. I heard God giggle. He laughed. And it felt good when He laughed. I felt like He was family. Made me feel good. I came back here because I chose to, And now I'm going through these same human things, human fears, human worries, because there's a system built around us that injects this fear and tries to take the God away from us, the God out of us, by giving us things that we have to do in order to survive. We can't just be. We can't just be. And that's the way God intended us to be. That's our happiest state, is when we're in a state of nature. It doesn't mean we can't have nice homes and things. It means that there should be no man that is the authority about who can live and make their home. This is God's land, not man's. But those people will be dealt with the same way that I was judged. They will be judged. I've been a good man in my entire life. Yes, I've done wrong. But God overlooked that with unconditional love. Because I sought him out. I asked for help. I've sought out Jesus Christ, who taught me the way. He taught me the way. And I've been trying to teach people this since it's happened to me. Every day I go on trying to teach people this. But like it says in the Bible, when Jesus tried to teach his people, they didn't listen. They all said, "Isn't this just Jesus, the carpenter's son? The kid we know that did this and that." But does that mean that Jesus couldn't have a message from God? See, we think that we know everything, but we don't. We don't know anything in the spirit world. I was shown these things, but I only know the things that I was shown. Now I definitely know there are things that I will never know and that I never want to know. Everything is so divine and so perfectly made. It's not for a human mind to understand. But one thing we need to understand is unconditional love, and that we need to be good to all living things, creatures, living things. The earth is a living being. Living things come from the earth. We are all God's energy. None of us can be alive without the energy of God within our bodies. That's what makes us move. Without it, these bodies are dead. But what are we in the afterworld if we do not want God in our lives, which is the energy of life as we know it? The energy of our consciousness is God. Without it, we are nothing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. The reason that you see the concerned look on my face is because 99.9% of society is living the wrong way. The people in authority are not only living in the wrong way, but they are trying to hurt us. God sees that. They will be judged. Do not worry about that. They will get theirs. Way more so than what any human being can do to them. They are going to feel it. And I pray for them, because they do not know what's coming. God bless you, my friends. I love you. God loves you unconditionally. And I love you because I was taught that this is the way. This is the way. We can all change. That's the beauty of life. Every second of every day, we have the ability to change into who we are supposed to be. God bless you all.